This wasn't a thing until after we met in person. It took a while, but he eventually started to threaten me with his mother or his grandmother during both disagreements and arguments, even if they were started or escalated by him. Usually I wasn't doing anything wrong and was reasonably upset. He would threaten to call them and lie about having done so and say they said things against me or in support of him, only to later say that he didn't actually call them, that it was a ploy to get me to calm down. When I was convinced that he likely had spoken to them and potentially slandered me, he assured me repeatedly that he would never say a bad word about me to anyone. He did end up calling his mother during arguments eventually, and I have no idea what he said to her many of the times. But I know he made me look bad. I know because she messaged me asking me to not argue with him and saying things which sounded like she thought I was being controlling. The times he called in my presence were arguments we had in the car, arguments be started and or escalated, screaming at me and driving recklessly. He acted like I was the instigator, the one endangering us, and failed to mention any of what he had done. When I spoke up and said what he had done, she didn't respond. It was like she hadn't heard me. She was only responding and caring about what he had to say. I was convinced Snee was siding with him, and that she is biased. But he said that she wasn't, that she doesn't take sides, and that he went to her and told her after the arguments it was his fault. There were times he would give me the silent treatment and ignore me, even when I needed help. This happened quite often and seemed like a way to shut me down and stop me from expressing my emotions. I would try to go and talk to him only to notice her door was cracked, or her light was suddenly on, as if she was listening in. When at the start he would tell me that she was whenever we argued, just to say afterward she wasn't, and this was to shut me up. It seemed like she actually was. A few times, when I was only trying to speak to him, she suddenly appeared and acted like I wasn't leaving him alone, and I was trying to argue. For a year he kept doing something that bothered me, something I asked him to stop doing, which was shoving me to get me to move over opposed to asking me. One time he kicked me quite hard, said it was an accident, and also said I was too close like I was in the wrong. The other time he elbowed me in the face, which he said was another accident, but not the shoving me. That was intentional. He said again that I was too close when I was leaning on his shoulder. When I got upset, he minimized it, said I was overreacting, and acted like it wasn't a big deal. I ended up screaming at him that it isn't appropriate to do that. He said I woke his family up, his mother. She came to the door, and all I heard him say was crazy, likely calling me crazy to her. He went into her room, and when he came back he said she agreed I overreacted and said it was normal occurrence amongst couples, and that we are together too much. The latter of which he says she tells him often, and attributes all of our issues up to, when he was mistreating me back when we were speaking online. He told me that he lied, and she didn't say all of that. That all she said was we are together too much, like that would cause this. Another time he was giving me the silent treatment for 2 days. I tried to talk to him, doing so calmly, but he kept telling me to leave and started shoving me out of the room. I kept trying and he told me to stop because I was making a lot of noise because his mother would get annoyed. She came down, and I didn't realize it until after I saw him point at me. She said that I needed to stop going up and down the stairs, that she had work in the morning, and that I needed to leave him alone. There was another argument we had, one that he started during which he was throwing and kicking things. She came to the door asking if he was okay. I think she thought it was me making all the racket. She told me the same thing, to stop arguing with him, to leave him alone. Afterwards, she messaged me and apologized for raising her voice, and said that she was worried about us and didn't want anything to happen. Then we came to America, and he agreed to a lot of things he went back on, as he usually does, including to wear a mask. He complained, criticized, and forgot to wear it. When I got upset with him, he acted like I was being unreasonable. He called her and told her that I was upset because he didn't have it on, and she called me controlling. I told him to tell her why I wanted him to wear it, why it was important, because he hadn't done this, seeing as he always leaves things out. He mentioned my mother and her COPD, to which she responded by scoffing and saying, "Ugh, her mother." I told him to mention he agreed months before, and it strongly influenced not only my decision to come, but also to be around family members and go certain places. I said it seemed he never intended to follow through, and it was deceptive to agree under false pretense. She acted like I was speaking gibberish and that she didn't understand, and said she couldn't listen to that. She called me controlling and emotionally abusive. She said he was allowed to change his mind and go back on agreements, and that asking him to wear it in the first place wasn't right. She told me I should make adjustments like not going out if I'm so nervous, or letting him stay back if he doesn't want to wear a mask in stores. She has no idea just how many agreements he's made that he's gone back on, or how he's cussed me out when he so much as thinks I'm breaking an agreement. We had another argument a few months later about how he was treating me. For days he had snapped at me when I tried to speak to him, told me he was overwhelmed or his head hurt, only to then speak to my mother. I felt like I was third-wheeling. He then cussed me out after saying several things which I found insulting, relating to other things he'd been saying which I already told him bothered me. He said he didn't mean it the way I took it, and then got angry with me for not letting it go, for being upset, and cussed me out. That one he apologized for minutes later. However, I tried to discuss things with him later on to no avail. He shut me down, said he wasn't giving in, and kept dismissing everything that I was upset over. He then threatened to leave and go home, something he's done many times, once ditching me in a foreign country. He called his mother and said I was arguing with him, but none of the context, and she told him no one could do that every day and to come home. I tried to say what he did, how he cussed me out, and she didn't respond. I thought maybe he muted me when I spoke, because she didn't say a word to me. He said that it doesn't matter, that she says the same, that the fact of the matter is we argue a lot, and it's not healthy. That the specifics are irrelevant. And yet he goes into specifics and she responds to him, and seems to care. The next day, after he failed to respond to her, she texted me saying she was concerned and asking if he was okay. I have told him I don't feel comfortable with her now. That I think she is extremely biased and doesn't care about hearing my side. That he has slandered me to her, which he denies. He insists she hasn't sided with him, that she cares about us both. But when I don't agree with that, when I say it's not right how she has responded, he guilts me saying she's been nice to me and has let me live in her house. He has sworn he will stop involving her, acting briefly like he understood it wasn't right, only to then go back to threatening me with her again. This is not limited to his mother, but my family as well. When I first called my mother in the beginning, telling her how he was treating me, he responded by pushing me into the kitchen counter and saying I slandered him and made him look bad. Online, he told me his mother was indifferent and cold to him growing up. He said she sat stone-faced as his therapist discussed his issues, and that his therapist remarked on her not being very emotional. He asked me, knowing I was knowledgeable on narcissists, if she sounded like one. In person, I overheard him on the phone calling her a BCH and telling her to shut up twice. When I went to his house, he told me she was in a mood quite often, whenever she was downstairs banging around in the kitchen. He said she called him a C&T out of the blue, for no reason seemingly. He would call her a B*TCH to me, particularly whenever she failed to uphold agreements she made. She sounded unpleasant. It put me off interacting with her when I already struggled due to bad anxiety. Then B suddenly said perhaps he was wrong about her. And ever since then he has been on her side and is quick to defend her. I don't like her. I don't know if she's a good person who he's just turned against me. But the fact that she ignores me I think is quite telling. She doesn't call him out on his behavior either. How could she not say anything about him driving recklessly? And why scoff at me worrying and wanting to protect my sick mother?